Professor Mutahi Ngunyi has dropped a bombshell I want us to have a look at, for it's going to inform the basis of our analysis right now. Before we have a look at what Ngunyi is saying, let me start by saying this. Politics is all about acquiring power. And in Kenya, politics is organized against ethnic political kingpins. If your ethnic political kingpin is the president, then the whole community feels they have the presidency. If the ethnic political kingpin is a deputy president, then the whole community feels they have the deputy president. That's how Kenya's politics is normally organized. If you look at the Kikuyu community, looking on how Rigathi Gachagua is playing his politics, it's very clear Rigathi might go down with the entire mountain. And not only the mountain, but more specifically, the Kikuyu mountain. Because we are being told we have Mount Kenya West and East. East being the Merus, Aemus, and the Tarakas. Rigathi might go down with the Kikuyu mountain. And I'm saying that because Rigathi was the deputy president. Through his mouth, he ended up being impeached. Upon his impeachment, William Ruto took the deputy presidency to the mountain still, though to Mount Kenya East. So by an extension, we can say that the deputy presidency is still on the mountain. Unless it's proved that the mountain is only the Kikuyus, the deputy presidency is still on the mountain. And it can easily slip away again from the mountain, depending on how Mount Kenya residents will behave politically. If they choose to support or to follow Rigathi, Kindiki might end up losing the deputy presidency. And should Kindiki lose the deputy presidency, then the entire mountain, both the west and the east, will have lost the deputy presidency. The only way, therefore, for the mountain to at least retain the deputy presidency, if they rally behind Kithure Kindiki, because already Kindiki has the deputy presidency. Rigathi is still in the dark. It's not guaranteed that Rigathi will be the president or the deputy president through the opposition. But Kindiki already has it. Yes. If the mountain follows Rigathi, the deputy presidency might also slip away from the mountain. And we might see it going to other regions, maybe to Nyanza, or even Western, or even Coast. Kithure Kindiki will be of no help to Ruto if he cannot convince the mountain to support him. If the mountain supports Kithure Kindiki, maybe William Ruto will weigh who is bringing more numbers. Is the mountain bringing more numbers than maybe Raila's traditional support basis, or maybe than the Mulembe Nation or Coast? That will be determined by the mountain support for either Rigathi or Kithure Kindiki. If the mountain goes with Kindiki, chances are very high Ruto might retain him as a deputy president. If the mountain goes with Rigathi Gachagua and Rigathi remains in the opposition, Kindiki might lose the deputy presidency. Let's have a look at what Ngunyi is saying. Mutahi Ngunyi, dear Kikuyus, are you still angry? And have you seen Ruto in Homa Bay? Power has shifted from the mountain to the lake. enjoy getting wamunyorod by a village Casanova with a fancy village named Rigi. A fellow who says that Harambee Stars is NIS just because it is effective. That's Mutahi Ngunyi speaking a few hours ago as I speak. Let's dig deep into that for Kenyans to understand where the truth is in all these political calculations. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's dig deep. Mutahi Ngunyi has looked at the political arithmetic. He understands very well that Rigathi Gachagua might not make it successfully either as a presidential candidate or as a running mate. If today Rigathi Gachagua becomes the opposition's presidential candidate, it's almost very certain that a majority of Kenyans will abandon the opposition for William Samoei Ruto. And even before Kenyans abandon the opposition for Ruto, even the opposition leaders themselves, they like such as Matiang'i or even Kalonzo, they might not support Rigathi's presidential candidature. Kalonzo, we all know, is positioning himself to be supported by Rigathi, same to Matiang'i. If Rigathi fails to support any of them, it's very clear they will dump Rigathi. So Rigathi's presidential candidature or presidential ambition might not be successful. And it will most likely be unsuccessful because in the 2 years Rigathi served as a deputy president, he was the face of impunity in Ruto's government. And some Kenyans have not forgotten that. They rather go with Ruto than going with the Rigathi Gachagua. So as much as Rigathi is the strongest link in the opposition, he is also the weakest link in the opposition. He only becomes the strongest link if he supports another opposition presidential candidate, not him, Rigathi, offering his candidature. If he supports any other opposition leader, then he becomes the strength. If he is a candidate himself, he becomes the opposition's weakest link in that the opposition will clearly divide. So Mutahi Ngunyi knows for a fact Rigathi's candidature will not be successful, whether he is a candidate or a running mate. So the mountain following Rigathi, they will not acquire that power. Politics is all about acquiring power. It would be more prudent if the mountain would go with Kithure Kindiki, in that should the mountain holistically support Kithure Kindiki, William Ruto might retain Kithure Kindiki as his running mate come 2027. And should that happen, then because our politics is always wired along tribal lines, the mountain will see that now they have the deputy presidency. That's what Mutahi Ngunyi is trying to say. Mutahi is also just trying to expose the propaganda being spewed by Rigathi Gachagua. For those who have been following Rigathi Gachagua before 2022 presidential elections, and those keenly still following him now, Rigathi has made so many political blunders. And in some cases, he has proved beyond any reasonable doubt that he's a very good propagandist. When he was the deputy president, he used to talk of shares. And shares, according to Rigathi, was that everything should be taken to the mountain because the mountain gave William Ruto 48% of the total votes he got across the country in 2022. So the shareholding Rigathi was propagating was for government positions to be taken to the mountain. Upon being impeached, I've seen him lying that he was sacked because he was propagating for other regions to get government positions. Sometimes he was speaking in Kakamega, where he said Ruto sacked him because he was advocating for the Luhya nation to be given their 30%. All these are propaganda. In fact, Rigathi Gachagua was fighting very hard for positions not to be taken to the Luhya nation. I've also seen Rigathi Gachagua lying that he differed with Ruto because Ruto was killing Gen Zs. All these are lies. Rigathi never came in the defense of Gen Zs. He only started defending Gen Zs after his impeachment. So we are also seeing a Rigathi who is a very good political propagandist, and that's exactly what Mutahi Ngunyi is trying to expose. All in all, as I conclude, if the mountain follows Rigathi, then they might die politically, as opposed to following Kindiki. If they follow Kindiki, William Ruto, because of the mountain's numerous numbers, Ruto might be forced to retain Kithure Kindiki. If Kindiki has no numbers, Ruto will replace him with maybe somebody from Nyanza, somebody from Western, or even Coast. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.